Hello, welcome. This is the 220th conversation. 220, a number I like a lot. It means that we've been here a while, but we are going to be here for a while. This is kind of the first gate, the first short number, because we are going to go into the thousands here. And I hope you join us in these conversations. Today, we are talking about our pain body. Do you know about this unique energetic dimension where our pain is stored? Well, we're going to learn about it from Blue Heron Woman here with us and Owl Investigation. So, welcome to these teachings, to these conversations, to this program. And welcome to all the kittens.
Yeah. Want to leave me alone.
Yeah.
So, the greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as the unobserved ego mind runs our life. The pain that we create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is.
Mm-hmm.
On a level, and it starts out as emotional pain and then becomes physical pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment, and on the emotional level, it's some form of negativity. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment, and this depends on how strongly we are identified with the ego mind. So the more we're able to honor and accept the now, the more we can be free of pain, of suffering, and of the egoic mind. Imagine the earth devoid of human life and it's inhabited only by plants, trees, and animals. Would it still have a past and a future? The question, what time is it, or what is the date today, would be quite meaningless. The oak tree or the eagle would say, the time is now. What else is there?
Mm-hmm.
We need the egoic mind to function in this world. However, there comes a time when the egoic minds, take over our lives. And this is when pain, dysfunction, and sorrow set in. The egoic mind, to ensure that it always remains in control, seeks to continuously cover up the present moment with the past and the future. And the vitality and infinite creative potential of being, which is our inner presence, our inner divinity, which is inseparable from the now, gets covered up. And over time, our true nature then becomes obscured by our ego. So an increasingly heavy burden of time has been accumulating in the human egoic mind, and we keep adding to it. Every moment we ignore or deny the precious moment or reduce it as a means of getting to some future moment, which only exists in the egoic mind, but never in reality. The accumulation of time then holds a vast amount of residual pain from the past. So if we no longer want to create pain for ourselves and others and not add to the residue of past pain that still lives in us, then we shouldn't create any more time than is necessary to deal with the practical aspects of life. How do we do that? Well, we realize deeply that the present moment is all we ever have. And so we make now the primary focus of our lives. We surrender to what is, we say yes to life and see how life starts working out for us and find the inner freedom from external conditions. Because whatever the present moment contains, we can't change it. We can only accept it. Make it our friend and ally. So as long as we are unable to access the power of the now, every emotional pain that we can experience leaves behind a residue of pain that lives on in us. And remember, all our emotions are created by words, by word concepts. So they're stories. All our emotional pain is just stories that we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It merges with the pain in the past that is already there and becomes lodged in our mind and body. This, of course, includes the pain we suffered as a child from the unconsciousness of the world we were born into. This accumulated pain is a negative energy field that occupies our mind and body. And our emotional pain body has two modes of being, active active or dormant. And a pain body can be dormant like 90% of the time, but in a deeply unhappy person, it's probably active 100% of the time. And someone who's, it's usually the pain body that causes the suicide. It's a pain body that causes accident, because the pain body needs pain to thrive on, needs drama to thrive on. Some people live almost entirely through their pain body, while others may experience it only in certain situations. Anything can trigger it, particularly if it resonates with a pain pattern from our past. Some pain bodies are obnoxious and relatively harmless, like a child who won't stop whining. Others are vicious and destructive monsters, true demons. Some are physically violent, many more are emotionally violent. Some will attack people around you or close to you, while others may attack you or their host, their own body. That's probably where autoimmune diseases come from, is the pain body attacking itself. Right? Illness and accidents are often created this way. And like I said, some pain bodies drive their host to suicide. The pain body wants to survive, just like every other entity in existence, and it can only survive if it gets us unconsciously to identify with it, and then it takes us over. It needs to get its food through us. It will feed on any experience that resonates with its own kind of drama queen king energy, painful energy, right? Anything that creates pain in whatever form: anger, destructiveness, hatred, grief, emotional drama, violence, and even illness. Pain can only feed on pain. It cannot feed on joy. And joy actually helps nullify the pain body. So once the pain body has taken us over, we want more pain. And then we become a victim or a perpetrator. We want to inflict pain, or we want to suffer, or both. And I have found myself in both at the same time. Right? I'm serious. I have. I wasn't conscious of it, but I have found myself there. You may not be conscious of this and may vehemently claim that you do not want pain, but we need to look closely at our thinking and behaviors that are designed to keep pain going. The pain body is afraid of the light of our consciousness. Its survival depends on our unconscious identification with it, as well as our unconscious fear of facing the pain that lives in us. And as soon as we're willing to stop telling stories, that's a habit to break. As soon as we're willing to stop telling ourselves stories of suffering.
So it's kind of tied to the mind as well, in a way.
Yeah.
To the inner dialogue.
Yeah. But if we don't face it, we don't bring the light of our consciousness into the pain, we will be forced to relive it again and again. It starts in the mind. That's, I mean, essentially, right? With all the stories we tell ourselves, but then it will erupt as illnesses. Like I said,
and that's kind of a natural trait of our minds that we just need to find a good way to either not silence fully, but get in. I'm liking a lot the idea of getting into the right relation with.
Well, making a choice. That's what I've been doing in the last few weeks. Is since New Year's Eve, I made the choice. I don't want to cause any more pain to myself or anybody else. I'm done. I'm done with imposing misery. Neuroscience tells us that our brains are wired for negativity because we have to escape because we're prey animal, so I don't believe that. I don't believe that in the least bit. I think we've been taught that concept. Like I told you, we talked about that our body makes only two feelings: pleasure or unpleasure. Pleasure comes from the sympathetic nervous system. It has the same sexual arousal. Pleasurable arousal has the exact same symptoms as fight or flight.
Yeah.
Exact same. Not symptoms, but body, what goes on in the body is exactly the same. So here we have it. We're all taught the sympathetic nervous system is fight, flight, or freeze. Oh yeah, and fornication. One word for pleasure is all that, and it's not even a pleasurable word.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that we've been wired this way, it's that we've been taught this way. So I made the specific choice New Year's Eve night that I no longer want to impose pain or suffering on myself or anybody else. Now it becomes a practice because I've had 58 freaking years of creating painful stories to make myself feel miserable
Mm-hmm.
and feel sorry for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's every day, it's a choice. It's a new choice to
Mm-hmm.
not give in to that. To
Right.
allow it to rise, but not let it take over. Because if we don't, we'll relive the same things over and over again. The pain body consists of trapped life energy that has split off from our total energy field and has temporarily become autonomous through the unnatural process of our mind's identification with it. It has turned on itself and become anti-life, like an animal trying to devour its tail. Why do you think our civilization has become so life-destructive? When we start to disidentify and become the watcher, the pain body will continue to operate. Yes, it will for a while. And will try to trick us into identifying with it again. Even though we no longer energize it, it has a momentum that keeps it going for a while. At this stage, it may create physical aches and pains in different parts of our bodies, but they won't last. As long as we stay present, stay conscious, be the ever alert guardian of our inner space.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if anger is the predominant vibration of the pain body and you think angry thoughts dwelling on what someone did to you or what you're going to do to him or her, then you have become unconscious and the pain body has become you. Unconscious means that you've identified with something that isn't real instead of your true self. So sustained conscious attention severs the link between the pain body and our thought processes. This is the esoteric meaning of the ancient art of alchemy, the transmutation of a base metal into gold, of suffering into consciousness. The split within us then is healed and we become whole again. And our responsibility is to not create further pain. So the process of disidentifying with it is to focus on the feelings that arise, state the problem or the trigger, and acknowledge our wounded thoughts and feelings. Know that it's the pain body, accept it, don't think about it, don't judge it, don't analyze it, and don't make an identity for yourself out of it. Just stay present and be the observer what's happening inside of you. And this is the power of the now, our conscious presence, and it will ultimately dissolve.
Mm. Wow.
I have to continue. No, no, we're not going there. We're not going there anymore. I acknowledge it. We're not going there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what when the stories arise, when the pain body arises and wants to, it's like, nope, I see you, I hear you, but we're not going there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
An
No, so this
aspect.
is very helpful, huh? For like,
Yeah.
could we be free without this information? It's
No, we can't be free without this information. We can't.
Yeah.
So you may encounter intense inner resistance to disidentifying from your pain. It will be so, especially if you have lived closely identified with your emotional pain body for most of your life and have made an unhappy self out of your pain body and believe this mind-made fiction is who you are. Unconscious fear of losing this identity will create the resistance. An aspect of the emotional pain that is an intrinsic part of the egoic mind is a deep-seated sense of lack or incompleteness or separation from God. That's the biggest part of it. It's separation and consciousness that causes right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of understanding that we're one, that we are God expressing as human form.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So to the ego, death is always just around the corner. And that's what wants us to make ourselves right and someone else wrong constantly. Wars have been fought over this. So while our egos need it to get around in this world, it's still just a substitute for our true self. We need to make it our servant, not our master. Most of us have, the vast majority of us have let our egos become our master. It's still just a substitute for our true self that is rooted in beingness. One thing to understand that helps disidentify with the ego or the pain body is to remember that our life is real now. Our life situations or circumstances are mind and ego stuff. The pain body usually has a collective as well as a personal aspect. The personal aspect is the accumulated residue of emotional pain suffered in each individual's past. The collective one is the pain that's accumulated in the collective human psyche over thousands of years through disease, torture, war, murder, cruelty, madness, and so on. Everyone's personal pain body also takes part of this collective pain body. And there's are many different strands, however, in the collective pain body. For example, certain races or countries in which extreme forms of strife and violence occur have a heavier pain body than other countries do. So anyone with a strong enough pain body and not enough consciousness to disidentify from it will not only continuously or periodically be forced to relive their emotional pain, they may also become either the perpetrator or the victim of violence, depending on whether their pain body is predominantly active or passive. For many women, the pain body awakens particularly at the time preceding menstrual flow. This is what causes PMS. Apart from her personal pain body, every woman has her share in what could be described as the collective female pain body. This consists of accumulated pain suffered by women, partly through male subjugation of the female, through slavery, exploitation, rape, childbirth, child loss, and so on over thousands of years. So the emotional or physical pain that for many women precedes and coincides with the menstrual flow is the pain body in its collective aspect that awakens from its dormancy at that time, although it can be triggered at other times. So Wilhelm Reich, I think, would have he noted character armoring, and I think the pain body is the same thing as the character armoring. And studies have shown that cultures which tended to inflict pain and trauma upon young infants and children, punish young people for sexual expression, manipulate them into arranged marriages, subordinate the female, and otherwise greatly restrict the freedoms of young people and older females to the iron will of males, also tended to possess high levels of adult violence. These cultures could be called patrist cultures or patrist cultures. Patrism is synonymous with armored character structure, the pain body. I mean, and we've talked about this before. Think about it. What's the first thing you see when you go in a good Catholic household? Jesus on the cross, on the wall, right there.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Everywhere. The most extreme, harsh patrist peoples lived in or were strongly influenced by peoples who originated within the most extreme, harsh desert environments. And they originated only around 6,000 years ago. Sadly, the emotional responses of a child to famine and starvation are similar to those stemming from maternal rejection or isolation rearing, factors which are known to have powerful disturbing effects upon later adult behavior. Reich exposed the roots of the German fascist philosophy and political movement in the clear-cut sexual pathology of the German patriarchal authoritarian family. He made the point that state structure is determined by family structure. In this family or state, the child is crushed through compulsive rules and harsh punishment so as to eliminate spontaneous and self-regulated inclinations, which are subordinated entirely to the prevailing authoritarian status quo. So the pain body starts even when we're in utero.
Wow. Yeah.
Children produced under the German patriarchal authoritarian family system, he argued, were timid, cowed, afraid of their inner feelings, and incapable of openly reaching out to satisfy their deeper emotional needs. He argued that a child whose biological needs had been met and grew up in a loving, self-regulated environment who was not sexually repressed in adolescence, and who consequently established their own sexually gratifying love life, would never fall prey to fascist doctrines.
Mhm.
He identified that the basic biochemistry, neurology, and biological organ systems by which the individual could expand and reach out to satisfy their needs, or by which inhibition would be accomplished. This individual could reach out towards the pleasurable world if they were not punished or threatened into inhibition of their impulses. He argued that emotionally we live as a mere shadow of our deeper selves because the armor or pain body saps our strength, pleasure, and joy in life. His clinical work identified a set of primary drives or impulses which were exclusively of a pleasure-seeking, social, and nonviolent character. These drives are present in the infant from the start. They are not learned. The drives include the impulse to suck, the feelings of pleasure associated with defecation or genital play, and the sexual longing of the adolescent and the adult. The primary drives also include the spontaneous reaching out to the world and trusting qualities often seen in small children. Secondary drives then develop with the armored blocking or pain body of the primary drives and buildup of undischarged tension. Repression of impulses does not simply do away with the energy of the original impulse. It will appear in the surface behavior in a distorted manner, tainted with varying degrees of anxiety, fear, or anger. So secondary drives include all those antisocial, sadistic, destructive, and deceitful impulses, and they obtain their energy from the inhibition and blocking of the primary biological drives. So psychic health then becomes a matter of whether or not a particular pleasure-directed drive or emotion is expressed or held back. A child reaching for the mother's breast, if given the breast, might be content and satisfied. Likewise, an anxiety-free defecation or pleasurable masturbation would feel quite satisfying to the child and holds no harm at all. If punishment is meted out, the child will react with shock and pain, and the pain body is formed. And the child armors against the biological impulse. Reich's philosophy was that the sadist and masochist are armored with considerable inner rage and bottled up tension and expressed in ways than like being pierced or tattooed. Not the standard in strange places. Because neither the sadist or the masochist can experience a full genital orgasm, and so the brutal savagery of extreme patristic nations during warfare and during peacetime include whips and bondage, body cutting, and piercing.
Okay.
So, again, I would say piercing in strange places, not standard. Right?
Yeah.
Reich defined the function of the orgasm as the basic and regulatory discharge function and a determinant of emotional and physical health. He observed that his patients who could establish a healthy love life recovered in therapy far faster than those who could not, and noted that the patients who had long felt sexually dead would come to life again once other chronically repressed feelings were liberated. So bad marriages, angry parents, poor living and working conditions, and the legal system stand in the way of people finding a satisfying sexual partner. He knew that it is important to accommodate an individual's restored capacity for pleasure in life. He was the first researcher to demonstrate that the bioelectrical potential would register at the skin surface only during pleasurable experiences.
Mm-hmm.
His research with this showed that in states of pleasure, the energy expands outward from the core to the periphery towards the world, giving rise to a stronger charge at the skin surface. During pain, fear, or anxiety, a bioenergetic contraction occurs, meaning a withdrawal of biological energy. He called the armoring pleasure anxiety, and this would be the same for the pain body. And I think it is. It just, right? Why would you continually tell stories of pain to yourself? Why would you want to live in, but we do. People say, no, I don't. Well, yeah, listen to your inner dialogue.
Mm-hmm. It's easy, maybe. I mean, it's an easy way to call, to get attention, to get things done for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And it can get very bad. In Bolivia, for example, it's even a saying that says it's convenient to be an idiot. It's convenient to be stupid, because then you don't do anything. So then, I mean, and you see so many especially young people, like playing stupid, like almost like if they instinctively knew that if they make their parents believe they're dumb and everyone, they're gonna get things easier.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah, I think that's true, and that's all driven by the pain body, by pleasure anxiety. So there's growing evidence that physiological and emotional retardation of a child may result from emotional stress and trauma experienced by the mother during the period of gestation. Reich called it the spastic uterus of mothers who clamp down against sexual feeling during adolescence and subsequently carry a great deal of tension in their pelvis and abdomen. The role of various treatments of infants in shaping adult character structure has been systematically studied. Practices such as separation of the infant from the mother immediately after birth, use of stinging eye drops to disinfect the baby's eyes, neonatal circumcision, timetable feeding, and bottle feeding have come to be found as detrimental to the long-term physical and emotional well-being of the child. All pain body. Studies have indicated that human mothers are more likely to reject and distance themselves from their babies if they're separated during the first few hours after birth. So we think about it. We think about American hospitals. I don't know how it is in other countries, but American hospitals have been designed to do this from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they pushed mothers into and made home births illegal, was when they started the straw man system.
Mm-hmm.
Some circles in modern medicine, most notably obstetrics and gynecology, have taken patently murderous anti-female positions to all this evidence, dictated partly by concerns for maintenance of their economic monopoly and partly by negative attitudes toward women and female sexuality. Those who doubt this should consider the shocking 25% cesarean section rate in America in the hospitals, or in the hundreds of thousands of unnecessary hysterectomies and breast mutilation surgeries performed each year, to include the preventive mastectomies. And who was the biggest female figure? Angelina
Jolie?
Yes.
Okay.
Who voluntarily offered to have both her boobs cut off.
Yeah.
Because she supposedly had the gene for breast cancer.
That's
she
crazy.
was cured. She was cured of her dangerous breasts. I mean, you know, we just don't see
That's
how.
the same logic of my great grandparents died of whatever disease, so I'm just gonna kill myself so I don't die of that disease. It's that same logic.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the lay midwives who are trained by peer groups and never set foot into medical college that have the safest record of all groups. And they made the story that midwives were dangerous. That's why they forced everyone into hospitals and outlawed midwives back in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
In studies, it has been shown that it is the deprivation of body contact and body movement that produces the wide variety of abnormal emotional behaviors. Reich observed that the effects of infant trauma is the first step in a series by which sexually anxious, neurotic, love-fearing, and pleasure-hating character structure of the homo normalis is formed. He theorized that early trauma regarding pleasure is generalized into sexuality to later form the core of adult genital and orgastic disturbances, or the pain body. In monkey studies, it was shown that the deprivation of body contact and body movement produces a wide variety of abnormal emotional behaviors, and showed these researchers the effects of infant trauma that is the first step in a series of flows by which the sexually anxious, neurotic, love-fearing, and pleasure-hating, again, homo normalis is formed. So by that, by movement is the habit of swaddling babies as tightly as we can. And we taught mothers in nursing school how to swaddle the baby. It actually is traumatizing to the baby because it restricts them from movement.
Okay.
So humans who are sensory deprived or abused as children would feel tremendous anxiety about touching and matters of sex even into adulthood. As a means to control their anxiety, such traumatized humans would also crush down any expressions of love and pleasure in their own children. And much of this pleasure anxiety then has become organized and institutionalized into culture, displacing previously softer and more pleasure-oriented forms of social living. Reich's sex economic theory provides a dynamic and scientifically testable alternative to mechanistic genetic determinism for the passing on of behavior traits from one generation to the next, and rests on the existence of a spontaneously honest, loving, social, and peaceful core to human nature, characterized by strong maternal-infant bonds and strong bonds of both sexual and romantic love between males and females, including adolescents and the unmarried.
Which is really hard to have nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Really hard.
So sexually repressed and told that we are too liberated, but at the same, but it's like kind of both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it took some outside force, some powerful, prolonged, and widespread anxiety-provoking trauma to destroy a peaceful and loving social group and drive it towards pleasure, anxiety, and social violence. Whatever this outside force was or is still, would also be required to initiate generalized changes within the sphere of sexual behavior and genital function to create chronic sexual frustration and discharged emotional, energetic tension, the fuel of pleasure, anxiety, armoring the pain body, and sadistic aggression, which is then turned back into the social group, organized into social institutions and traditions for the socially approved attack upon the repression of sexual functions and pleasurable activity in the next generation.
So pain starts in the pain body, and then it just spreads out into the system, and it comes back at us through how even society is organized, and it all starts with sexual repression. It's not the first time we've covered that, but here's more info.
Well, we got to keep on covering it. Yeah. So once the armor or pain body is formed and generally exists culture-wide, it then becomes a force for its own self-perpetuation, this time from within the culture. After the outside force has worked its traumatic damage, social structure would change and institutionalization of trauma would occur. And I mean, you see that everywhere. I mean, everything is everyone is doing trauma-informed stuff. It's like, let go of the freaking trauma.
Yeah, it's just the most traumatic thing is going to a hospital, going to the doctor. I mean, just look at a kid when he's told that he's going to go to the doctor.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, so what I'm saying is I think it was across Facebook, or was it was it YouTube that I saw? Someone's trying to start a like a permaculture farming community, and they're trauma informed.
Hmm. Which means
Which means they're focusing on trauma. They're
on,
walking around on eggshells. Oh my God, we might traumatize you.
okay.
We're going to be totally aware of your trauma so you can carry your trauma around with you like it's a backpack. That's what trauma informed means.
Oh wow. Oh my God. But it does, I mean, that shows that they didn't learn anything from the permaculture, because even like
Exactly.
a toxic soil will get eventually through plants cleansed from its toxicity
Yep.
and reach a homeostatic or a, I don't know, biostatic state.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. It's at first I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. And then when I got to the part where we're trauma informed, I'm like, yeah, nope. Yeah, no, I'm working really hard on shedding my pain body, my trauma information. I don't need you to put the backpack back on my back for me.
Yeah. That's why this research is so important.
It's kind of like there's a story from Hawaii about these two shamans, an older guy and a younger one, were traveling together, and they came across a woman trying to cross the river, and the older guy picked her up and carried her across, and they were monks and they weren't supposed to touch women, right? And they kept on for the rest of the day hiking. They carried her across the river, put her down, and kept on to their destination. And at the end of the day, the younger monk says to the older guy, "I can't believe you did that. You violated me." Yeah, you're right. It goes off on him, and the older monk says, "Why are you still carrying her? I put that bitch down a long time ago."
Okay.
That's what trauma informed is. We carry, we don't put the bitch down, we keep on carrying her.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. And like you were talking before we went on live, it's you start intellectually with all of this. You have to get this information somewhere out there, and if somebody is watching this, please help us get this information out there. And then, of course, it's just not going to automatically transform into you have to do all the work of remembering, of incorporating this intellectually and letting it become even a subconscious, trained, informed wisdom that you carry out in your daily life.
Making a choice to put the bitch down.
And that's a key thing. You have to make the choice.
Yeah.
There's always a choice, and doesn't it seem like it's the hardest thing? I mean, I've gotten used with all this work through the many years I've been doing it. I know that one of the most powerful things you can do is make a choice, even if it's the wrong choice, but make a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
But you see, this is a tendency of the easiest thing to do is to not to like even be forced. We want the universe to force us to make a choice instead of us.
Yeah, we do. So after we institutionalize trauma, then newborn infants, mothers, and children are attacked and repressed by ritual traditions, by distorted and damaged social institutions, which then rationalize 1,000 different methods for the denial of pleasure and the infliction of pain, implementing new barriers of fear, compulsion, and anxiety into male-female relations. Outside forces then are no longer necessary to recreate the trauma in subsequent generations. And people become their own traumatic oppressors. And then only feel comfortable with neighbors and leaders who likewise support the continuation of the same harsh and repressive ways of living. State structures mirrors family structure in the average household as expressed in various social institutions. And Reich first theorized that trauma and repression originate when adults, for economic motives, began to manipulate the marriage choices and sexual lives of their children. he drew on the work of Malinowski, who studied the Trobriand Islanders. Malinowski found that the husband fully shared in the care of the children, bathing them, fondling and carrying the babies, stuff you never see an American man do.
Mostly, probably now with
Mostly.
new kind of more soft
But the
families.
tradition, I know my dad never gave us baths, especially since we were girls. He wouldn't dare look at his naked daughter's bodies, right? And then the children enjoyed considerable freedom and independence, becoming emancipated from a parental tutelage, which was never really strict at all. So the child's freedom and independence extended also to sexual matters. Malinowski noted that the obvious feeling of equality, the father's domestic helpfulness, especially with the children in the islanders, was quite astounding. Equality between male and female. The Trobrianders were free from infant and child traumas and adolescent sexual repression because the adults had never been raised with significant trauma or repression themselves. A number of studies have noted the existence of cultures where babies and children and adolescents were raised with a great amount of physical affection and where a high level of sexual affection was allowed among children and adolescents. Examples of these are the Muria from India and the Pygmies in Africa. Like the Trobrianders, those cultures also possessed very low levels of adult violence. Their very existence collectively refutes all theories on the supposed biological and genetic basis of Freud's Oedipal conflict, patrism, and destructive aggression. The behavior of the Gentile Pygmy people who lived deep in the rainforests of Africa reflected the original uncontaminated state of behavior of Homo sapiens, is what Hallett, the guy that studied them, said. Alwyn, who studied the Muria in India, likewise argued that they possessed attributes of nonviolent innocence, which reflected a most ancient condition, and he devoted himself to protecting them from and educating them about the outside patristic world so they wouldn't get contaminated. But they did eventually. Both the Muria and the Pygmy were characterized by the presence of a high level of body pleasure for infants and adults with a low level of trauma, anxiety, psychopathology, and violence, previously as forecast by Reich's sex economic principles. As was the case with the Trobriand society, the Muria and the Pygmies, in spite of their free conditions, did not display evidence of unbridled promiscuity, group marriage, or other fantasies conjured up by Westerners accustomed to conditions of sex repression and sex starvation. The studiers all noted that the unarmored, no-pain body peoples of high-pleasure, low-violence cultures possessed very low levels of sadistic anger or sexual jealousy.
Yeah. That's what it all parts from, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where we'll stop tonight.
Yeah, I didn't imagine that. I mean, the pain body. Yeah, it illustrated me quite a bit. This piece of teaching, but I did not. I mean, I kind of intuitively know that everything stems out of a sexual and of course because we've been talking about it, out of sexual repression, but this fills in so many blanks.
Sexual and pleasure, or sexual it's a how you can't really but you can feel pleasure without having sex, but right, it's both. You're repressing pleasure, any feelings of pleasure, along with sex.
And because everything is kind of connected, so if you associate something with the very sexual part of it, then when you find it maybe not in a a one-to-one person erotic relationship, but you also might miss out the erotic part of another pleasurable situation because you have those associations in your mind. This is not good.
Well, like I was telling you, it's
like work. You can find a much more pleasurable way to carry out your duties, what seems like not so pleasurable, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or like I told you in the voice text, as in the book about extended massive orgasms, they're saying don't don't kiss your partner unless you do it to make your lips feel good.
Hmm.
Don't go down on your partner unless you want to do it to have your lips and tongue feel good. And that was the first combination, the first time I ever, 57 years old when I read that. No one ever did. What? Right?
Yeah.
So the same thing here. Don't pet the kitty without wanting my hands to feel good and feel the pleasure
It's like,
of their
yeah, enjoy
fur.
what you're gonna do and what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, don't better. Even if it's to make the other one like it, you
Right,
shouldn't
but you're
really.
doing that for yourself
Yeah,
first.
you shouldn't really think that it's only for the other. It's got to be for you too.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd never thought, never once was that ever introduced to me sexually, as part, as part of sex. Of course, I didn't get the birds and the bees speech till I was like 17. So
Mhm.
I was kept very sexually naive for my whole life, but
Mm.
or for a long time. But
Mhm.
anyway, so yeah, we're going to continue. Yes, we need to continue on with this to show how.
And what's it gonna continue to next week?
I'll give you a title.
Later on? Okay.
Yeah, later on.
All righty. So let's invite people. We had one live watcher, which is, I guess, starting to be because of our new sharing this in little bits and pieces that are digestible to people through social media. And it's probably was one of those new subscribers. He stayed for about 5 minutes only, but hey, that's better than some others. Just they come in for like a minute and they leave, if they come in at all. So
Yeah.
but others then of course watch this, especially on Rumble. Probably they watch it the whole thing, or a great part of it. But let us know what it is that you like or dislike about this, and any comments will be very much welcomed. But please do make a comment and let us know that you're here, and we'll see you next week at the same time with a whole new teaching and whole new conversation from Owl Council Houses. Check out aloha.ineedoutLiving.com, and please support this. Please hit a like button. Oh, I need to say that again. Hey, do you mind if I change? Let me change this a little bit, because it's gonna. I need this for a recording. Okay. So please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please support this project so it can reach a lot more people. And thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Alrighty.